it was kind of surprising to me, which is how hard people work in Kenya. Honestly, this is the very last thing I honestly imagined that I would think of as a disadvantage. Maybe it has to do with the fact that when I've always come to Kenya previously, like I've come to visit, I've been on vacation. I have never worked in this country, so I don't know, maybe I just saw it as a vacation spot. And having worked now, here in this country, I'm just like,
Yeah, welcome guys. Of course, yeah, it's not a vacation spot. People have to work here. There's a reason why the president is shipping people to other countries. It's not that Kenya is not good, it's just that jobs are an issue here. So welcome guys. So this is a video by Yvonne. I'll actually link the original. I'll link the original video. Yvonne, I think, is an expert who is living in Kenya, and she's trying to describe the disadvantages of living in Kenya. So I'm gonna try to react to some of them. She actually had some really I saw the comments on her page and they were like, wow. So there's this guy who said, hey, what about just going back to Canada, just saying, or try South Sudan? I see another talking of insurance, you work. Okay, so let me see. South Sudan, there's this nice video. Von, I'm Kenyan, totally agree with the content. So there are actually a number of guys who are agreeing with her as well. But there are actually some which they were kind of roasting her. Anyways, I'm going to be reacting to the video itself, the disadvantages of living in Kenya. This is Gideon. This is Eka, where we talk about anything and everything living in Kenya. I am a real estate agent, so if you want some of my services in terms of looking for houses, if you're an expert, even if you're not an expert, um, I am on the ground, so I can check out our description. I'll leave my contacts there if you need any consultation, whatever it is, just reach out to me. I'm going to be reacting to some of these clips, starting with this.
the other thing is corruption. Now, I know a lot of people, even in the West, there's a lot of corruption. Corruption continues to exist and blah, blah, blah. But again, the level to which the corruption happens in this country is astronomical. Astronomical, okay? It's crazy. I mean, you will see, like, if you spend some time on Kenyan Twitter, like, the amount of dissatisfaction towards the government is so high, There's so much angst.
So guys, yes, there is a lot of corruption in Kenya. There is a reason why the Gen Z were protesting for changes. Yes, Kenya is a good place to come, but yes, one of the things that really ails this country, and if people say Kenya is really moving, you can imagine moving swiftly on, but you can imagine if we didn't have the much corruption that is there, it'd actually be like 10, 20 years. The systems would work. So a lot of things would work. So yes, as an expatriate, I as a Kenyan do agree there's a lot of corruption in Kenya, and that is true. And I don't know what else we can say. She's absolutely 100% correct. There's a bit of corruption. Does it mean that it's something that makes you not come? Do you have to corrupt for every other thing? Not really. But when you're dealing with the government, some services, I have to be honest, it's really been made like a norm. It's not something that you're proud of. I believe the government is trying to do something, but it's still an issue. There's a reason why there were so many protests happening, and that's one of the reasons is that but the generation that is coming up, the Gen Zs and the Alpha, they are trying to do something about it. They're trying to say, no, you're gonna not kill our dreams, our future on corruption, and that's one of the reasons why there were the riots were here. So I believe it's something that will actually change in the future. I believe in that. So yeah, so corruption, she's on point.
That is a disadvantage is healthcare. Now, luckily, I have not had to encounter the healthcare system in Kenya. We thank God. But I know, even through other people that I've talked to, people that I've worked with and things like that the healthcare insurance that you get. So Kenya, there's healthcare insurance, right? It's called NHIF, right? And you pay every month, and then that allows for you to get healthcare insurance in case you need it. And so
Two things I'm gonna react to. Yes. Actually, two things that I need to separate. I think she mentions that in the next one. Healthcare insurance. Now, Kenya has one of the best health no, did I say healthcare or Medicare? Medicare. Healthcare, Medicare, I think. So hospitals and stuff. That's what I'm trying to say. So in terms of healthcare, Kenya has one of the best healthcare in Africa. I think the only other country that could be better is South Africa. However, this is a big difference. There is a difference between the public healthcare and private healthcare. When you talk about the public healthcare, of course, as like any other developing country, it is not where it's supposed to be. However, for the private healthcare, it is one of the best ones. Not maybe in the world, of course, but in terms of Africa, in terms if you look at our peers, Tanzania, Uganda, it's one of the best. So I hope that one of the issues that she's actually mentioning, or she was going to mention, is private healthcare. If you have insurance or the money, is one of the best in Kenya. That I can tell you for a fact. However, the issue is for most expats, they do have insurance. Probably, yes, not probably. That's the. If you have insurance in Kenya, private care, you'll have the best Medicare that you can get. The problem is if you don't have the private insurance. The normal one, which Kenyan use, is not the best, agreeably. That's why it's even being changed currently. But for if you're an expat and you're coming to Kenya, you can get a private insurance which goes for, I think the most premium one, it could be more, it's almost maybe $1,000 per year. And with that, probably you get access to the best hospitals you can get in Kenya. So that should not be an issue unless you don't have insurance, private insurance here. The other thing is that I know there are experts who come have insurance cover that covers other countries from probably the States. So that would also help if you have that. But in terms of healthcare, I hope what she meant and she was trying to explain is that if you don't have the money or insurance cover, it's going to be really bad because the public hospitals are really, I'm not up to par. However, the private hospitals, in fact, you have other patients from other African countries, especially the rich ones. Yeah, let's be honest. They usually come to Kenya for healthcare. So healthcare, we have to differentiate. There is healthcare, there is really good healthcare, but it's costly. Or if you don't have insurance, that's gonna be really costly for you. So yeah, let's move on to the next one.
that it was kind of surprising to me, which is how hard people work in Kenya. Honestly,
Da.
this is the very last thing I honestly imagined that I would think of as a disadvantage. Maybe it has to do with the fact that when I've always come to Kenya previously, like I've come to visit, I've been on vacation. I have never worked in this country.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty obvious.
I don't know, maybe I just saw it as a vacation spot. And having worked now, here in this country, I'm just like, wait, what? Like, this is not a vacation spot.
It's not a vacation spot.
So I honestly feel like people work really, really hard. And I feel like I used to work in tech before. So I used to work for a startup. So I know how it can be. I know how busy,
Okay, let's
like
start
working. If anybody,
yes, people hard working here because, like any other developing countries, when people who are here, you'd be surprised. Those vacations you're talking about, Masai Mara, probably 90% of Kenyans have never been to Masai Mara, despite it being in Kenya. That's a fact. Most people have never been to those vacation spots that you frequent. Most Kenyans have never been there. Why? Because probably they can't afford to go there, right? So by and large, there's, as I started the video saying, there's a reason why the Kenyan president is going outside, which is being really been criticized, looking for jobs out there for Kenyans who are here so that they can go there. It's not that we don't love our country. It's not that at the forefront of Kenya, what most people are thinking is food, rent, and these things. We don't have subsidies in this in Africa by and large. If you're not working, you're going hungry. There's no subsidies. There's no. So by and large, people work hard so that they can eat and have their basics. While in the West, they kind of probably have their basics. They have shelter. They have, as you are saying, healthcare is there. So you're just working to, of course, to feed yourself, but you know what I mean. So in Africa, it's the other way around. You have to work, regardless whether you're sick. I mean, if you don't work, you don't eat. So yes, people work and work hard, very hard. I'd actually flip it the other way as also a reason why expats will ordinarily have a better life here, because when they come here, uh, a middle class person from the West coming to Kenya will gonna live a very luxurious life. If you're gonna be talking about hiring a driver, because there are so many people there, I mean, the working conditions, if I may say that, are not as favorable in Africa. So you're gonna get cheap labor. I'm not saying it in a bad way, but it's just that's the truth of it. The inverse of it is that you're gonna get very cheap labor here. You're gonna get a cook, a driver, things ordinarily that would be very expensive in the States or in the West can become affordable here because there are so many people looking for those opportunities. So yeah, people are not going to vacation here in Kenya with my sister. They are working so that they can eat. So yeah.
Disadvantage would be something that is quite common is security. Now, I've been in a lot of like forums and discussions where people talk about like there's insecurity everywhere. There's insecurity all around the world, and that may be true. But coupled with my number 3 thing is like I feel like it now becomes to be a real issue. So in a lot of Western countries, let's say, for example, because I'll use the city Toronto. Like, I used to live in a place like where my university was. It was like that place was not safe. Like, you could be robbed while you're walking to your apartment. You know what I mean? Like, that happened, right? Like, I lived there, so I know. But there's a deterrent for people to do criminal activity in the West because the justice system works, okay? Because the justice system works, you're like, I'm going to think twice before I stab somebody. I'm going to think twice before I rob somebody because I'm going to be thrown in jail or whatever. The system works, so it acts as a deterrent. Does it work 100%? No, there's no place in this earth that it works 100%, okay? But it works to a much higher degree. In Kenya, I do feel like
security. Let's talk security first. One of the things security in Kenya is in Nairobi in particular. I would not say compared to other places it's such a big issue. It just depends on where you are. Kenya, I usually try to explain this to experts. Kenya has pockets of everything. Nice places, not very nice places. There are places in Kenya where I would never, even myself as a local, would never even go. But however, for most places, it's fairly safe. I mean, when I mean it's fairly safe, I mean, let's take it for example, like the West. When you say there's insecurity, you're talking of guns, shootings. In Kenya, even hearing a gunshot is such a rarity. So the type of insecurity you mean is pickpockets, someone snatching your phone. I'm not saying that's not crime, but it's that sort of crime that is you can be able to. I mean, if you have your A, B's, and C's, as I hear experts say, I mean, if you lived anywhere that is not very, don't go flashing your phones. If you just do the basic things just to take care of your security, you'll be okay. She mentions the other thing as well in terms of judiciary. I don't know how factual that would be. The Kenyan judiciary, of course, is not the best, but it's not also the worst. I mean, I think even someone just puts there's someone who put a comment. I mean, the Kenya judiciary, of all the African or the developing country, I think it's only Kenyan judiciary that can actually tell a sitting president that they have to repeat elections. So to that end, the judiciary in Kenya is a little bit independent. What might be the issue is that not everything. I do understand what she says. Like if you don't have money in Kenya, you might not have access to a lawyer. So there are parts of the judiciary that are an issue. I do accept, but it's not as bad as she wants to. Actually, crimes do get punished if there is enough evidence. They actually does. The judiciary is not as bad. Security, I can understand. It's not as bad as well. I've been also to other countries, development ones, and to be honest, I would actually say I'm much more safer in Kenya, in Nairobi, in most places than I am after in some places out there. So yes and no. It's just you need to elaborate. There are many expatriates in Kenya, and they usually tell you the same thing. As long as you just take the simple measures that you have to adhere to in other countries, you'll be okay. In the rare cases, would someone snatch your phone while you're driving in some places? Yeah, I think that would guess probably happens in so many other places. But apart from that, I don't think it's an issue as much as people would try to portray it. Nairobi, I mean, it usually had even a nickname, Nairobi, but that was like 15 years ago. Right now, it's not as bad. And would you wake up and start walking at night in some random places? Man, that's you. That's not even about an issue of safety. That's just you. But for most places, the safety is okay. In terms of the judiciary, it's not as bad. The system doesn't work very well, but sometimes it does. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, so I'll just jump over that and just go to the other issue.
Well, another thing is about patriarchy.
Patriarchy.
And I don't know, I feel like existing as a woman who is not married, or who doesn't have like brothers, and like there's no male figure in my life to champion for me or whatever. Now, obviously, this I think also depends on the spaces that you exist in. If you exist in certain spaces, you live in certain areas, like this is not even a thing something that you even think about, right? But in other spaces, you will see that, oh my gosh, like, okay, it's very clear that this is happening because I am a woman, or, but like you always find moments and things that remind you that the patriarchy is alive and well. So, and it could be simple things like being somebody in the office that you're working.
Patriarchy. So, patriarchy, anyway, guys, give me suggestions if you think patriarchy is an issue. Probably I might be wrong. Actually, it's very funny because as of late, people are actually saying the boy child in Kenya. I don't know whether it's connected to what she's talking about. But I think the woman is really being pushed. And even to some people are saying actually the boy child is really being left behind. Nowadays, we have so many things which are done specifically for women. So I'm not saying it's not there, but I'm just saying probably some of the issues that she raises would be what we call in Africa. Let me be really honest. I'm not saying patriarchy is not there. I'm not saying women are not marginalized in some areas, but I think that also happens in most of the world still. I think there's that claim, yeah. But I think the way she's put it, I don't know. I might be wrong, but my thinking is, I think some of the issues that she raises are actually what we call first world problems. In Kenya, there's a time President Uhuru, the former president, was asked some of these issues. It's like an issue like LGBTQ. Are we saying it's not there? It is there. It's something that we should talk about. But is it at the forefront of most Kenyans? No. As we said before, 90% of Kenyans have never been even to a vacation. So most of these people are just thinking how to put food on their table, roof over their heads, get education and basic education and healthcare. Patriarchy and how the society is an issue in some cases. In some spaces where I would imagine she works, I don't think that's even a really big issue. I'm not saying it's not an issue. I'm just saying probably it's not at the forefront of most Kenyans. So thank you guys for listening. My name is Gideon. As I said, I'm a real estate agent. I'm doing this sort of videos for expatriates or even Kenyans or Kenyans abroad or other people outside there. If you like this sort of content, come on and subscribe. I'll be doing more of these videos. And I've got a couple of other videos. You can check them out. This is Gideon. See you next time. Cheers.